So just for a minute, imagine you are sound asleep in a hotel room in Atlanta, Georgia. You hear a knock at the door around 1 a.m., so you actually get up, you go answer the door, and it's the GM/president of the company that you've actually been working for the last 21 years. He abruptly tells you that you have actually been fired and that you should pack up your bags and go home. I guess the only thing I can say at this point is welcome to Chris's world, because something like that is exactly what happened to Chris Paul, I guess, earlier in the morning when Chris Paul at 3 a.m. was abruptly let go by the Los Angeles Clippers, as only, let's just be honest with each other, as only the Los Angeles Clippers could do. All right, welcome back to the NBA Rundown. On today's show, it has been a crazy NBA day so far, and we haven't even played any basketball yet. We're going to talk about this Chris Paul mess. We're also going to talk a little bit about Giannis and the fact that Giannis is doing what Giannis does. He is, if you will, like a volcano that threatens to erupt every single year. He's doing it once again in Milwaukee. If you're a Milwaukee Bucks fan, I think this year the Giannis volcano might actually explode. New to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. And as always, I'm Dave Dabbah, coming to you from the Silicon Valley. But we begin tonight with, of course, the Chris Paul story. And, you know, the Los Angeles Clippers have been a mess for a really long time. Now, I know that Ballmer is the owner, and I know that the Clippers actually play in a $2 billion arena that they spend a ton of money on. And if you look closely when you're watching a Los Angeles Clippers home game, you know, there are a lot of empty seats, which actually takes me back to my day in the media in Los Angeles back in the 90s. You'd go to a game at the old LA Sports Arena, and the PR team for the LA Clippers was essentially handing out, if you will, free tickets to anybody that walked by in the actual sports arena. You could actually be sleeping out in front of the sports arena, and you might end up with a couple tickets on top of your chest when you wake up. That is how poorly run this Los Angeles Clipper organization has been. Now, Ballmer has certainly made a significant difference. As we all know, the team has been playing above its pedigree for years at this point, and you have to give Ballmer and the coaching staff and the management team a lot of credit for at least turning the ship around a little bit. But there are some things that, quite frankly, never leave the DNA of an organization, regardless of actually who's even still in that organization, because the way the Clippers handled this whole Chris Paul thing, quite frankly, was just absolutely ridiculous. Now, we don't know the whole story at this point. We don't know the Clippers side of the story. There's all sorts of things coming out about Ty Lue and Chris Paul. We're not communicating at all. Ty Lue was refusing to talk to Chris Paul, and I can absolutely believe that it would have actually come to that. I could see Ty Lue not wanting to talk to Chris Paul, and I could see Chris Paul simply telling anybody that would listen to him what was wrong with the Los Angeles Clipper organization. The Clippers organization had to know what they were buying when they bought or decided to bring Chris Paul back for a 21st season. Of course, Chris Paul is the guy that's actually going to make people uncomfortable in a room. Hell, he's been doing it, a Clipper fan, for 21 years in the NBA. There are boatloads and boatloads of former players and coaches that will tell you that Chris Paul might not be the easiest teammate or player to coach that they've ever worked with in the past. I don't want to take anything away from how great Chris Paul has been throughout his career. We understand that when players actually start to ski down the backside of career mountain, Sometimes they think they can get off an off-ramp a little bit early and prevent actually ending up at the bottom of the hill. The reality is Chris Paul and his game has actually been at the bottom of that particular hill for quite some time. He should have probably retired a year and a half ago. But that being said, what went down was so dirty by the Los Angeles Clipper organization, as only and the Los Angeles Clipper organization that used to actually just pass out free tickets to anybody that would walk by the old sports arena in the mid-90s in Los Angeles would do. The Clipper organization continues to baffle me year in and year out. Love to get your thoughts on the whole Chris Paul thing. All right, other big story of the day is, of course, Giannis and his threatening the Milwaukee Bucks once again about wanting to talk about his future with the team. Now, a lot of companies will prevent people from doing that in the middle of a year. They have a certain time of the year that those employees have the opportunity to actually sit down with their bosses and talk about their future. They don't wait, 15 days into a new year to actually have those discussions. Those discussions, a lot of times, are actually planned out at a certain time of the year. And Giannis, on the other hand, feels like he can actually have those conversations at any given point with the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, of course, he had one of those conversations, as it's been well reported, during the offseason. So what did the Milwaukee Bucks do? They went out and brought in Miles Turner. I am just saying. You can sort of understand why that Giannis volcano is heating up and why it might be getting closer and closer to erupting at this point, if you know what I mean. Look, at the end of the day, for Giannis, if he looks in the mirror, he actually has to say, well, the Milwaukee Bucks organization has at the very least made an attempt to give me more players around me. I mean, for God's sakes, they did go out and bring me Dame time. Now, while a lot of the moves haven't panned out, it's not from a lack of effort. But the teams in the NBA are not allotted an unlimited number of, if you will, first round and second round draft picks. In other words, they only have so many shots to actually get it right for Giannis. So for Giannis at this point to be 15 games into the season and to want to actually basically, if you will, have a conversation about his future again is, of course, something that he did during the offseason and thought maybe things would turn around. Well, it's pretty clear that they're not. And I think that the Giannis volcano, which has been threatening to go off for years, is actually going to go off this time. Now, where is Giannis going to end up? 90% chance he ends up with the New York Knicks. I don't know who the other teams might potentially be in play, but my guess is Giannis has all of one team on that list, and so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Love to get your thoughts and opinions on the Giannis volcano as well. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to the NBA Rundown today. A crazy NBA day so far, and of course, we haven't even played a game yet. For the NBA Rundown, I'm Dave Dabbah, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.